Welcome back to Meaningful Whispers. Tonight you find yourself wandering through the warm, humid breath of a Cambodian night. You can almost feel the damp air clinging to your skin, smell the earthy perfume of wet leaves, and hear the distant trill of cicadas blending into a low, endless hum. A single lantern flickers beside you, throwing shadows that stretch and curl like tendrils across ancient stones. The canopy above feels like a living ceiling, a cathedral of tangled roots and vines that keep secrets older than most cities you've ever known. And yes, your ego might not make it through unscathed. So before we dive in, tap that like button and subscribe to Sci-Phoria. Only if these midnight mind voyages truly speak to you. And tell me, where are you listening from? What time is it there? Let's see how far across the map of consciousness we stretch tonight. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You drift deeper into the whispers of a forgotten empire, the Khmer civilization, born along the fertile floodplains of the Mekong River, rose like a dream sculpted from stone. Long before Angkor Wat became the iconic face of Cambodia, there were scattered sanctuaries hidden beneath the jungle, temples to gods you barely remember, Shiva, Vishnu, and forms of divinity woven from both Hindu and Buddhist threads. You imagine the soft shuffle of bare feet on sandstone steps, the murmurs of monks cloaked in saffron robes, the smell of incense mingling with the dense aroma of rainforest. History tells you that between the 9th and 15th centuries, the Khmer Empire built hundreds of temples, but not all were celebrated. Some were modest sanctuaries, deliberately tucked away, places meant for silence rather than spectacle. And as centuries passed, the jungle crept forward, claiming what men abandoned. Roots grew like serpents around doorways, prying stones apart with slow, patient strength. A city can crumble in a moment of violence, but here, nature used time like a chisel. Take a slow breath in. Feel your ribs expand like ancient walls, rediscovering space. Hold it gently, then exhale, soft, quiet, almost a sigh. Notice how your body sinks just a little deeper, like those stones sinking into the soil. Some scholars say the Khmer builders wanted to mimic the shape of the sacred mountain Meru, believed to be the center of the universe. Others argue these temples were not only spiritual symbols, but also markers of political power, a way to carve eternity into the landscape. Still, historians can't agree on why so many were left to the vines. Was it sudden collapse, drought, war, or simply the inevitability of time? All things decay, Nietzsche once wrote, even the grandest truths. You might wonder if these temples are truths, or dreams, or both. There's a small, curious anecdote from a French explorer in the 19th century who wandered through the jungle only to stumble upon a small shrine entirely encased in strangler fig roots. He wrote in his journal that it looked like the temple had grown inside a tree womb, as if the earth had decided to protect it from the forgetting. It makes you think about how memory works, what you hold on to, and what you let dissolve. Even now you can hear the distant echoes of drums, faint and far away, like a heartbeat pressed beneath layers of green silence. The Khmer people believed their temples were living entities. They gave them offerings, spoke to them as if the stones could listen. Perhaps they still do. Perhaps the temples are still waiting, patient and quiet, for someone like you to pause and truly see them. Breathe again. In slowly. Imagine the humid air carrying the scent of lotus blossoms. Hold, then let it go, as if you're releasing something you no longer need to carry. You glide deeper into the thought that entire histories can hide in plain sight. Imagine how many lives, how many stories are still cocooned beneath the jungle canopy. Tonight, you stand at the edge of that mystery. You are just beginning to listen. You keep walking. The jungle tightens around you like a velvet curtain, muffling the outside world. Each step sinks into soft earth scattered with fallen leaves that smell faintly of rain. A slight breeze teases through the canopy, carrying whispers you can't quite translate. Ahead, you see the faint outline of stone, shattered walls, their carvings blurred by moss and time. You reach out, brushing your fingertips along the cool surface, feeling how the stone breathes differently than the living trees beside it. This is Ta Prohm, one of the more famous temples reclaimed by nature, though still only a glimpse of what remains unseen. Towering silk cotton trees sprawl over its walls like giants resting their limbs after centuries of quiet watchfulness. Their roots snake down in thick ropes, gripping the temple like a lover who cannot let go. Unlike Angkor Wat's grandeur, this temple feels intimate, almost personal. Here, history doesn't shout, it exhales. And you are caught in that exhale. Breathe with it now. Inhale slowly through your nose. Notice the subtle weight of the breath, the way it sits in your chest. Then let it slip out without force, like the jungle letting go of centuries. It's strange, isn't it, how humans once poured their devotion into these stones, carving every figure with aching precision, only for the vines to weave their own patterns over them. Historians still debate the exact timeline of abandonment. Some say it was the great droughts of the 14th century. Others point to the slow shift of trade routes, draining the empire of wealth and will. And of course, there are those who whisper about cosmic imbalance, karma unraveling what was built on human pride. Jung once said, "What you resist persists." You wonder if the Khmer resisted the pull of nature too long, only to have it return with relentless patience. A curious story lingers here. During the French colonial era, early explorers tried to tame the temple by cutting back the trees. They wanted to reveal its full structure, free from the tangled green. But after every clearing, the jungle surged back even stronger, as if the earth itself refused to let the temple stand bare. Eventually they gave up, letting the trees remain. A kind of compromise between man and nature was made, and Ta Prohm became famous for its haunting fusion of both. You can't help but smile at the irony. Humans spend lifetimes trying to preserve what they build. Yet nature does it effortlessly, not in the way we expect, but in her own mysterious design. Another breath now. Close your eyes as you imagine the heavy dampness of the jungle pressing gently around you. Feel how your shoulders soften, your jaw unclenches, as if the vines themselves were unraveling the tension in your body. Beyond Ta Prohm, deeper still, are temples without names, hidden beyond well-trodden paths. Some have no recorded history, only scattered clues. A broken lintel here, a half-buried statue there, all waiting quietly. These are the lost ones, never turned into tourist postcards, never illuminated by the soft glow of smartphone screens. And you, stepping further into this dreamlike space, feel the strange sensation that time is folding. Centuries ago, monks might have walked the same path, their chants rising like smoke through the trees. Now you walk alone, but perhaps not entirely. You can almost hear a faint echo of those voices. A reminder that places carry memory even when we don't. Historians can't fully agree on the meaning of these hidden sanctuaries. Were they hermitages for meditation, secret retreats for kings, or simply the forgotten side projects of an empire too vast to manage? It's the ambiguity that holds you here, suspended in the unknown. Another small joke flickers in your mind. If the jungle had a guest book, it would simply say, "Everyone checked in, no one checked out." You breathe again, slow and measured. This time, imagine the air moving down through your spine, grounding you like a root reaching into the earth. And you realize the temples aren't just ruins, they're mirrors. They show you how things endured not by resisting change, but by embracing it, becoming part of something larger, something endless. The jungle doesn't erase the temples, it completes them. So you keep moving, deeper into the green labyrinth, deeper into the soft heart of mystery. You push aside a curtain of vines and the air shifts. It feels heavier here, but not suffocating, more like an embrace. The jungle canopy filters the sunlight into fractured beams, painting the stone floor in soft, dappled gold. You pause, taking a long, deliberate breath. Inhale the earthy scent of wet leaves, of ancient soil holding secrets older than memory. Now you stand before an entrance, half collapsed, half hidden. The doorway is carved with faded apsaras, celestial dancers frozen mid-spin. Their faces are worn smooth, yet their presence lingers, like a whisper that refuses to die. You step closer, your fingertips grazing the grooves in the stone, feeling the rhythm of time that carved them. This is Beng Mialea, a temple that feels less like a structure and more like a riddle. It's often called the Jungle Temple, more forgotten than Ta Prohm, more feral. Entire galleries have fallen, creating mazes of rubble swallowed by roots. You realize as you look around that the temple is both whole and broken, complete in its incompleteness. Breathe again. Let the breath travel to the back of your throat, then release it with the softest sigh, as if you're letting go of centuries yourself. Mainstream history tells you that Beng Mialea was likely built as a miniature of Angkor Wat. But beyond that, almost nothing is known. No inscriptions, no records of the king who commissioned it. It's as if it simply appeared from the jungle, then surrendered to it without a word. And isn't that the strangest thing? A massive temple carved from tons of sandstone, existing without context. Scholars argue endlessly, was it unfinished, abandoned because of war, or simply meant to be hidden, a sanctuary beyond the gaze of empires? Nietzsche's voice drifts softly through your thoughts. There is always some madness in love. You wonder if this temple was born of such madness, a love for the divine that didn't care whether anyone remembered. There's an unusual anecdote tied to this place. During the late 19th century, a French explorer stumbled into Beng Mialea completely by accident. He described the experience as walking through a dream I couldn't wake from. Legend says he became so obsessed that he refused to leave for months, sketching every vine and fallen stone. When he finally returned to civilization, he spoke in riddles, insisting the temple was alive. Some dismissed it as fever delirium, but here, standing among the roots that coil like sleeping serpents, you can't entirely dismiss his words. Take another breath now. Let it be deeper this time. Feel how your lungs expand, then gently contract, like the temple breathing through you. You step inside a narrow passage. The darkness is cool, soothing. Your footsteps echo softly, swallowed by the hush of the stone walls. Small shafts of light cut through cracks above, illuminating motes of dust that dance like tiny spirits. You reach a collapsed chamber where tree roots have burst through the roof, curling into the space like frozen waterfalls. And in this silence, you can almost sense the lives that moved here once. Monks chanting low hymns, builders hauling stones, pilgrims kneeling in quiet devotion. Time erases the faces, but not the feeling, and the feeling lingers like a faint aftertaste. There's a peculiar psychological truth you remember. The human brain can't resist filling gaps. When it encounters mystery, it creates meaning, even if the meaning is imagined. So as you stand in Beng Mialea, your mind sketches stories where history offers none. Perhaps there was a forgotten queen who prayed here. Perhaps a hermit who carved these stones in solitude. Perhaps nothing at all but the sound of wind threading through empty halls. And maybe that's the beauty. The temple doesn't demand an answer. It invites you into its silence, where your own thoughts become the only guide. Now close your eyes for a brief moment. Feel the temperature of the air. Notice the weight of your body, your feet steady on the ground, your spine long. your breath moving like a quiet tide. You open your eyes, and beyond the ruined chamber, you see another path leading deeper still. Past Bang Mialia, beyond even the edges of known maps, are more ruins, scattered like breadcrumbs of a forgotten civilization. Temples that have no names at all, cloaked so deeply in foliage that even satellites can barely detect them. The jungle hums quietly, almost approvingly, as you take another step. You can't tell if you're walking forward in space or backward in time, or both at once. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you hear that soft laugh of the earth itself, reminding you that everything we build eventually returns to the soil. The path ahead feels less like a walkway and more like a memory. Each step you take crunches softly over leaves that have fallen for centuries. The jungle tightens around you, branches knitting overhead like the ribs of some vast sleeping beast. You drift deeper into a place where sound softens. The chatter of the outside world fades into a distant murmur. Here, even the birds seem reluctant to sing. Instead, you hear the hum of insects, the faint drip of water from unseen moss, and your own breath, a slow rhythm anchoring you in this moment. Ahead, through a lattice of green, you see it, a temple no guidebook ever mentions. Its towers are strangled by banyan roots that twist like colossal veins, merging stone and wood into something alive. This is Khmer, a forgotten capital, once the heart of a fleeting empire before Angkor eclipsed it. You pause, feel the stillness in your chest, then inhale gently and release it as if you're letting the weight of history slide off your shoulders. Khmer's pyramid rises in tiers, stark and almost brutal compared to the graceful spires of Angkor Wat. It looks more like something from Central America than Southeast Asia, and that's the puzzle. Why this shape? Why this sudden architectural shift? Historians still argue whether it was a bold experiment or an act of desperation by a king who knew his reign would be short-lived. There's a strange little anecdote about this place. Locals say the temple was cursed after its construction, haunted by the restless spirit of Jayavarman IV, the ambitious ruler who built it. They whisper that those who climb to the top at night will see visions of cities burning, empires collapsing. Of course, rational minds dismiss this as superstition. Yet, as you tilt your head back to look at the sharp angles piercing the sky, you feel an unease that reason can't fully explain. Every ruin whispers of pride undone, Jung once wrote, and here the whisper is almost loud. You begin to climb, each step deliberate. The stones are rough beneath your fingers, worn smooth in some places, jagged in others. You stop halfway and breathe, letting the soft wind cool your skin. Feel your heartbeat slowing, settling, sinking with the deep, unhurried pulse of the earth. Khmer once held hundreds of temples, but most are lost to the forest. Imagine an entire royal city, markets, homes, reservoirs, vanishing back into the green. There's an eerie thought here, one historians often contemplate. How much of human history has simply been swallowed whole? How many Khmers lie unseen beneath jungles, deserts, even oceans? We like to believe we know the arc of civilization, but perhaps we only know the fragments that refuse to disappear. Inside the temple's inner sanctum, shadows cling stubbornly to the walls. The chamber feels incomplete, like a sentence cut short. Was this the final resting place of a king, or a temporary refuge abandoned in haste? No one knows. Here you pause for another breath. Let it expand your ribs, let it soften your shoulders. Exhale through the nose, slow, like the jungle itself is exhaling with you. In psychology, there's something called the Zeigarnik effect, the mind's tendency to cling to unfinished stories. Maybe that's why ruins fascinate us. They're incomplete narratives, begging our imagination to fill the gaps. And so your mind begins weaving possibilities, a royal coup, a divine omen, A slow famine that drove the people away. None of it confirmed. All of it possible. Then you notice something strange. A small carving on the floor, half buried under dust. It depicts not gods or kings, but simple farmers, hands clasped in what looks like prayer or perhaps resignation. It's a rare scene in Khmer art, which usually glorifies power. And you wonder if this was a quiet rebellion, a reminder etched in stone that all empires rest on the backs of the humble. A soft laugh escapes your lips before you can stop it. Maybe the sculptor was making a joke that survived 1,000 years, a wink at the futility of kings. The breeze shifts. You glance out from the temple's height, over an endless green ocean of treetops. Somewhere beyond that horizon lies Angkor, resplendent and celebrated. But here, Khmer slumbers in relative silence, content with its anonymity. You take another step down, slowly, carefully. The descent feels easier, lighter, as if the temple is releasing you. And with each step, you sense the jungle reclaiming you too, wrapping you in its warm, damp embrace, reminding you that no matter how high humans build, nature will always wait patiently to take it back. One more breath now. In through the nose. Hold it gently. Out through the mouth. Let your shoulders loosen. Let your jaw soften. And as you reach the bottom, the jungle parts slightly again, revealing yet another shadowed pathway. Beyond Khmer, there are whispers of even more elusive temples, ones so hidden they've never been mapped. Places where vines knit into walls, where tree trunks grow through ancient doorways like the slowest moving ghosts. You step forward, and forward, and forward still. The air grows denser as you move onward, a velvet weight pressing softly on your skin. The jungle canopy thickens until the daylight fractures into shards, falling like green-tinted glass on the forest floor. It feels as though you are no longer simply walking forward in space, but backward in time, deeper into a memory the world forgot. Here the trees stand older, their roots rising like petrified waves around your feet. Each twist and knot seems to hold a story, a silent witness to centuries slipping past. As you brush against a moss-covered trunk, you feel a faint shiver of recognition, as if the jungle itself knows you are trespassing into a realm that prefers to remain hidden. Ahead, emerging through layers of foliage, you glimpse the faint outline of another temple. It's different, smaller, more intimate, its stones softened by centuries of rain. This is Beng Milea, a temple swallowed almost entirely by the earth. Unlike Angkor Wat's symmetry and Khmer's bold pyramid, Beng Milea feels like a dream unraveling. You step closer. Vines coil through collapsed doorways, roots pierce the ceilings, and whole walls tilt precariously as if mid-fall. And yet, there is beauty in this decay. The temple is not just in ruins, it is in a state of slow communion with nature. Here, stone and plant are no longer enemies. They are partners, intertwined in endless patience. Take a breath. Let the humid air fill your lungs. Feel the faint coolness it carries, the earthy scent of wet leaves, the subtle sweetness of flowers blooming somewhere unseen. Exhale slowly, and with it, let go of the thought that anything in this world can truly remain unchanged. Beng Milea was built as a mirror of Angkor Wat, but on a smaller scale, a kind of architectural rehearsal. Historians still argue whether it was abandoned before completion or simply lost after the empire's shift in power. Like so many things here, its story ends in ambiguity, like a sentence that trails off mid-word. There's a strange anecdote travelers share about this temple. They say if you stand in its main courtyard at dusk, you can hear echoes, not just the wind, but faint melodic chanting, as if the stones themselves remember the prayers once spoken here. No recordings have ever captured it, Perhaps it's just the imagination playing tricks, but here, standing still, you can almost believe it. Nietzsche once said, "Time is the slowest sculptor." Looking around, you realize how true that is. The jungle has carved this place in ways no human could plan. Arching roots into doorways, splintering walls into mosaics of light and shadow. Inside the temple, you find a collapsed corridor. Shafts of sunlight pierce through gaps, illuminating tiny motes of dust that float like lazy stars. You crouch down to step through the rubble, feeling the cool stone beneath your palms. Each movement is careful, deliberate, as though the temple itself might crumble further at the slightest rush. Breathing in again, you sense your body slowing down, your pulse sinking with the timeless rhythm around you. Imagine the workers who once carried these stones, carving intricate designs without knowing if anyone centuries later would ever see them. Imagine the monks who meditated here. Their chants now faded into the air you breathe. There's a psychological term, cryptomnesia, for when forgotten memories resurface as if they're new. Standing here, you feel a hint of that. It's as though some ancient memory, one not even your own, flickers faintly in your mind. You cannot name it, cannot fully grasp it, yet it feels familiar in a way that stirs your chest. You move deeper into the ruins, stepping over fallen lintels etched with Naga serpents and celestial dancers. These carvings were meant to tell divine stories, but now they look like fragments of a dream half remembered. The dancers' faces are worn smooth, yet their postures remain graceful, eternal. A light chuckle escapes you when you see a carving of a monkey stealing fruit from a god. Even here, amid the sacred, someone found space for humor. It reminds you of a truth that transcends time. No matter how grand the temple, humans have always carried their small, mischievous joys. And then, through a narrow opening, you reach the inner sanctuary. It's dark, quiet, and cool. The silence is so complete it feels alive, pressing softly against your ears. There is no altar, no statue, just emptiness. Perhaps it was looted long ago. Perhaps it was never finished, yet the void seems intentional, like an invitation for you to fill it with your own stillness. Close your eyes, inhale gently. Let your breath expand your chest, then release it in a long, soft sigh. Let your muscles loosen. Let your jaw unclench. You are simply here, between what was and what will be. Outside, the forest waits patiently. Roots creep closer with each passing decade. Branches stretch wider. The earth reclaims its own. It's a reminder that no matter how deeply humans carve their stories into the world, nature has the final word. As you step back into the light, you glance over your shoulder one last time. The temple stands quiet, eternal in its surrender. And you can't help but wonder how many more Bengmilayas lie hidden, waiting for someone to notice, to breathe life into their silence again. The path winds onward. Beyond this, there are whispers of even deeper ruins, ones found only by those willing to disappear completely into the jungle's embrace. And so, without hurry, you take the next step. The jungle seems to shift around you now, as though aware you've passed through its hidden heart. The air grows heavier, not with menace, but with an almost sacred weight. You feel it in your shoulders, your spine, your breath. Each inhale slower, deeper, like the earth itself is guiding you into stillness. Ahead, the trees part to reveal something astonishing. It isn't just another temple. It's an entire complex swallowed whole by the canopy. Massive towers pierce through the green, their crowns lost in vines. This is Ta Prohm, a place where the boundary between human creation and nature's reclamation dissolves entirely. You step closer, and there it is, the iconic site that so many travelers describe with reverence. Roots thicker than your body drape over the walls like frozen waterfalls. Trees have grown through the stone itself, splitting it apart and yet holding it together all at once. The temple feels alive, as if the jungle decided to weave itself into the architecture instead of destroying it. Take a slow breath here. Feel the moisture on your skin, the scent of moss and old stone. As you exhale, imagine the centuries flowing past like a river, the countless seasons of rain, wind, and silence that have shaped this place into something beyond human design. Taprom was deliberately left in this semi-ruined state by early restorers, a conscious decision to let visitors witness how time and nature coexist. It's the perfect embodiment of impermanence, a visual poem reminding you that nothing truly belongs to us forever. Historians still argue whether this temple was primarily a monastery or a royal sanctuary for Jayavarman VII's family. The records are incomplete, like torn pages from a book you can't fully read. And perhaps that mystery is part of its allure. Knowing that you'll never have every answer. There's an old anecdote whispered by Cambodian guides. During monsoon nights, Taprom's inner chambers echo with the sound of footsteps, too rhythmic to be the rain. Some say it's the monk still pacing in eternal meditation. Others insist it's only water dripping through the hollowed stones. No one stays long enough after dark to find out. You wander through the maze-like corridors, brushing past walls carved with asaras, celestial dancers frozen mid-motion. Their faces, half consumed by roots, seem both serene and mournful. You pause in a chamber where a massive tree trunk has punched through the ceiling, spilling sunlight like liquid gold onto the floor. And there, in that beam of light, you remember a line from Carl Jung. In all chaos, there is a cosmos. That's what Taprom feels like. Chaos sculpted into accidental beauty. The collapse isn't destruction, it's transformation. You take a moment to simply stand still. Feel the weight of your body. Notice the gentle rise and fall of your breath. Let your eyelids grow heavy for a second, then open again slowly. This pause is enough to reset your entire sense of time. As you explore further, you reach a narrow passage where the air cools sharply. The darkness is thicker here, and the silence is absolute. You trail your fingertips along the damp stone and think of all the hands that must have done the same over the centuries. Monks, travelers, perhaps even kings. It's humbling to know you are one of countless, a fleeting moment in the long continuum of this place. A small smile escapes you when you notice a carving of a tiny creature tucked in the corner of a grand relief. A rabbit, playful and almost cartoonish, hidden among solemn deities. It's a reminder that even in the most sacred, people found ways to weave in their quiet humor. And then, like a slow exhale, you emerge back into the open. The temple rises behind you, wrapped in roots that seem to be holding it in an eternal embrace. You realize it's not truly ruined. It's simply become part of something larger, something endlessly alive. The jungle stretches endlessly beyond Taprom. Who knows how many more temples lie hidden, still covered by centuries of foliage, waiting to be rediscovered? Even with modern technology, entire cities remain buried beneath the canopy, their stories silent but not erased. Walking away, you reflect on the strange resilience of memory. Just as the jungle can hide and reveal temples, your own mind hides and reveals its forgotten corners. Perhaps that's why these places feel so haunting. They mirror the hidden landscapes inside you. You take one last deep breath. Feel the cool air travel into your lungs. Let your shoulders soften, your jaw loosen. With each slow exhale, you release the need to know everything, the need to hold on. As the path curves back toward the edges of the forest, you glance behind you. The temples remain, half swallowed by green, half standing in defiance. Time will keep folding over them like layers of silk. One day they may disappear entirely, and yet, somehow they'll still exist. In memory, in whispers, in dreams. And now, as the canopy fades into twilight, you begin your slow return. The jungle grows quieter, the air cooler. Your footsteps are softer. You feel as if you're waking gently from a dream, carrying fragments of it back with you. A vine curling through a doorway, a carving's faint smile, a silence that said more than any words. You don't need to look back again. The temples will stay here, waiting long after you're gone. And now, as you settle deeper into your pillow, feel how your body has softened along this journey. The temples, the trees, the slow breathing of the jungle, they're still with you, even in this quiet room. Imagine the vines curling gently through your thoughts, untangling them one by one, until there is nothing left but stillness. Let your eyelids grow heavier. Feel the weight of your hands resting where they are, the slow rhythm of your breath like a tide rolling in and out. The lost Cambodian temples remain behind, timeless, untouched by the rush of your waking life. Here in this soft moment before sleep, you carry only their calm. Remember the dancers carved in stone, forever mid-motion. Remember the trees embracing the temples, showing that even what crumbles can find a new kind of beauty. And remember, above all, that you too are part of this endless cycle of remembering and letting go. As your breath slows, imagine the canopy closing gently above you, a shelter of green that quiets every restless thought. Let yourself drift. There is nothing to hold on to, nothing to resist, only rest, sweet dreams.